Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to the next episode of I Am the Hammer, in which I talk about all things grey nights. The sun is shining, the weather is beautiful, so what better way to spend my time than sitting in a dark room and talking all about grey nights? Let's go. So, as you can probably tell from the title of this show, I was recently at the Sheffield Super Major. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking through all my games, but through the lens of kind of like the new meta, the new UKTC map pack, the new missions of Prior Nexus, and all that sort of thing. And then just analysing where I think kind of where we're at and potential list changes and that sort of thing. So if you like tournament reports or you're interested to know anything about the new sort of missions and that sort of thing, hopefully this episode should be a good one for you. So just to recap, well, not a recap because I didn't even get to tell you guys, my list, I made some slight adjustments from my old list. So here's where I'm at. I went for a Grandmaster rather than a Brother Captain. I went for a Crow with 10 Purifiers. I went for 2 units of Strike Marines, 2 units of Interceptors, 10 Paladins with the Grandmaster, obviously, 10 Purifiers with Crow, 2 Dread Knights, and then I went for an Eversor Assassin and a Calidus Assassin. So at the end of Leviathan, I was playing with 3 Dread Knights, and that took me 25 points over. So I dropped them, and I had room for basically like 175 points. So I was like, well, how do I spend that? And I ended up going for a Calidus for the Uppy Downy and the Vect, and the Eversor because I thought that might be interesting to try out. Grandmaster, everyone kept saying, yeah, no, ignore modifiers is a drug, man. So I went for him, and I'll let you know how I feel about that at the end. But other than that, it was very much a tried and tested list, one that I was used to playing. I won, we won the team event with it. I felt I played it quite well the first time I used it at the ITT. I hadn't actually used it in singles though, so this was its first run out. So game one, I get the mirror. Now mirrors normally are a bit like, oh, especially Grey Knight mirrors, who goes second wins. But I was like, you know what? I'm confident in my playability. I think I might be able to play this. And then I saw the list. Now, I don't have librarians in my list. I personally don't feel they're worth it for the 120 points. Obviously, I get lots of people are taking them, but it's just not something I'm particularly investing in at the moment. But obviously, they do have one little used rule, which is quite good in the mirror, which is if librarians are part of a unit, that unit gets a 4-up Feel No Pain against all psychic damage. He then attaches those to 3 Terminator bricks, or 5, which are OC 15. He then has 3 strike units, which are OC 10, and he has 3 Dread Knights. And the fundamental issue going into this game was I can't kill him anywhere near as well as he can kill me. So the mission was Terraform, and as you can see from the map, it's right across the middle. And there is a world here where he goes first and just launches the 15 Terminators, because in this mission, Battle Line can advance in action. He goes first, missiles the 15 Terminators on one onto each objective, terraforms them all. I then spend, maybe I knock him off one objective, spend 2-3 turns trying to chew through the others whilst all his strikes come down from Deep Strike and the Dread Knights and kill me. And yeah, so I wasn't feeling particularly confident in this game. I just had to hope that he wasn't a great player or particularly knew what he was doing. And I got to go first, and I managed to get an early primary, which was quite nice. Managed to just put pressure on them, screen him out. And actually, over the first 3 turns, I did build up a bit of a primary lead. It then came to him choosing a secret mission, and he actually went for one because he wasn't on very many primary. The reality was it's actually the wrong choice because it meant I immediately knew, I worked it out, and I was like, well, he's going to get to 40 anyway, whatever I do, so I can just focus on my cards. the fundamental issue was that over the first two turns it was fine, and actually I gave him quite a lot of headaches, and he did come out to play more than he wanted to at the end of his turn one, but I just couldn't hit him hard enough. I managed to drop 4 Terminators and a Librarian and form one group. Eversaw positioned out the Librarian, what a hero. But other than that, I just couldn't kill the stuff. And then the Strikes came down, started doing missions, and then the Dread Knights came down and started killing me. I just gradually got picked up. I ended the game actually with just the Paladin brick. And there was one annoying moment on his bottom of four. Where I had 3 Purifiers in the middle, and he'd put 2 Dread Knights near there. And the shooting failed, so he had to charge on. He made a 9-inch charge from Deep Strike, and then an 11-inch charge from the other end. I managed to wipe that out, and that was actually a 14-point swing I worked out because of his cards and my cards next turn. But yeah, it ended 60-84 to him. I don't know. I felt I played it okay. I'm sure there is a win path there, but Alex played well. For frame of reference, if you think his list is a good one, I think it's a good one for teams. In singles, I'm not sold. He went on to lose his next 3 games and then quit. And he was a good player. Like, he did all the right things into me. Like, fair play. I can't complain. I mean, I did not score my cards well at all, and he did, and that was a bit of the sight of the difference. I wasn't able to build up as big of a lead as I could and start making him sweat. But yeah, so disappointing start, I guess you could say. I think my list, I've built it so you can take on most things and have a game, but a 4-up, feel no pain against all of your army's damage apart from your flamers. And when, Grey Knights obviously don't have much AP on their guns either, so AOC can hurt them, especially into 2-up saves. So, no. So, disappointing start. I got it drawn into AdMech. Now, I had actually played this on a battle report I filmed against myself. I'm not going to release it just because I got a few rules wrong for AdMech. But at least I knew what AdMech did. And in that game, my AdMech actually beat my Grey Knights. So I knew that it could be an issue. His list had like 40 Skitarii troops, and then Las Chickens, Dragoons, Sicarians, Dune Crawler, a couple of Dune Riders, Draxus with a unit. I don't know. I feel like my profiles match up well into AdMech. My concern was him just constantly knocking me off the objectives, and because the mission was taking hold hidden supplies, I could see a world where he just kept knocking me off, and then I wasn't scoring many points, and then maybe I couldn't get through him quickly enough. Not really sure. Anyway, it didn't go like that. He went first and kind of didn't draw good cards, but put a lot out. Jack was a lovely guy, but he certainly was a bit too aggressive turn one. And as we spoke about afterwards, my Purifiers and Paladins match up into all his infantry, and Paladins are good into his vehicles as well. The Dread Knight's obviously good into the vehicles. He doesn't have great profiles for hurting me, and he's very much at the behest of the dice rolls. I should mention his dice were absolutely shocking in this game, as were Alex's in the previous game. But yeah, he gave me a bit too much. I was able to get a first turn charge off with my Paladins and tag a bunch of stuff, chop it up, and just work my way down the bottom right hand side. So that bottom right hand side was kind of like dealt with by the Paladins. Meanwhile, the Purifiers were just there in the middle and just shooting stuff, overwatching stuff, and then they went to his backfield. He was able to almost kill the Purifiers in the end in his backfield, but I was just kind of like sandwiching him from behind and front and just quashing him, grinding him to dust. Yeah, in terms of this matchup, I think it definitely could be an interesting matchup. I think if they use their things to screen you out and have their layers correct, I think maybe it is an issue, especially with the Vanguard, with their OC. You only had one unit of Vanguard, but that, like, them knocking off your objectives, reducing OC to 0, that sort of thing. But no, in reality, this particular game was was quite helpful. And those middle L's are they're very handy indeed. They're a nice little addition, I would say. So yeah, the game finished 152, and I kind of knew I'd won it from round two, really. So can we get our obligatory 2-1 at the end of the day? Well, I get Sisters of Battle. Now, Sisters obviously got a bit of a reputation at the moment. They bring us a flame detachment. A lot of people still saying like it's unbelievably broken and disgusting, and the output is horrendous, and it goes so far. I played into Dale. His list, I would say, wasn't at all optimized. He kind of didn't want to play the Triumph. He wanted to play some of the units he liked and that sort of thing, which is great, I think. And so it did make my life a bit easier. He still had lots of flamers. He had the triple castigators, but he doesn't have much OC. He didn't have like a 10-man Seraphim blob. He had like some 5, so he didn't have that ability to fire out a load of dev wounds, even with the Dominions. So I was kind of like, I don't think he can really hurt me that much as long as I play it well. And it was supply drop. Now, the supply drop ended up being the left-hand side was the one that was going to stay. I looked at what he'd put over there and what he had in strat reserve, and I was like, I just don't see him doing that well with it. I did go first, which on supply drop makes you a bit worried, but all it meant was I sent OC10 to the right and left objective and had them hidden, and he had no way of knocking me off those objectives. So I was going to get an early primary score, which was great. He then, I drew recover assets and containment, so I had 5 units doing doing things. He went for my 2 assassins, which were on the left-hand side doing actions, and he picked them both up, but the Purifiers were able to kill a squad of Dominions in Overwatch. I gave him the option. I was like, my Purifiers are here, they'll probably kill them in Overwatch, just so you know. He was like, no, it's fine, you go for it. They died, but the Immolator picked up the Calidus, and the Seraphim picked up the Eversaw, so I didn't score recover assets. Recover assets, guys, is a trap. If I was you, unless you are 100% sure you're going to score that, I'd personally take the CP. That is what I will be doing. I was able to play around the middle, hide from the castigators to an extent, and one castigator into one unit does nothing with AOC. They have to be able to add extra AP through shooting multiple castigators. He did make a mistake here. He put his unit of 10 Sacrosants out onto the middle objective to get 2 points for cleanse. This was a bad idea because my Purifiers then came out onto the middle objective, cleared those Sacrosants all away, and then went, right, anything you move near me, I'm killing with Overwatch. And you know what? With AOC, I've got a good chance of surviving that as well. He then spent his turn 2 killing the Purifiers, but he put his entire army into them. And I was then able to pick things up. The Dreadknights did a classic where they decided to completely whiff and kill no Penitent Engines and no Immolator, such is the way. But yeah, I'm not going to lie, this was quite a comfortable game because I managed to get a foothold, and then he was always reacting to me. He had no OC to knock me off. He couldn't bring to bear enough killing power in a certain point to deal with me. And I don't think he was feeling great. But he was a lovely opponent, so thank you, Dale, if you're listening. But yeah, it was, in hindsight, supply drop was just added to the brutality because he wasn't able to score any primary. So it finished 97-38. So I got my 2-1. I was happy. We went out for a lovely meal at TGI Fridays. And then I got drawn into Dread Mob. Dread Mob don't have a good win percentage at the moment. So immediately I'm like, okay, cool. Then I'm looking at the list, I'm like, T12. I don't have a great way of dealing with this. All my combat on my units is, apart from the Dreadknights, is obviously strength 6. So I'm winning on 6s. I don't know. I was a bit unsettled by this. And this turned out to be a really, really interesting game. So I played into Graham. Graham's a very good player. He just wanted to give Dread Mob a go, but I'd say the way this game went was he was too defensive early on. He went first turn and he didn't go and grab the the objectives and make me come to him. He kind of played quite defensive and settled for towing in the middle, not making any move towards the flank ones and then holding his own. Burden of trust you only score if you hold the middle. I was like, okay. My concern in this game is he just keeps using the knights and the Gretchen to knock me off objectives, but he was really worried about me getting into his backfield. So he ended up keeping 2 units of Gretchen there the whole time, screening me out. So despite playing really defensive, and I think he got that objective, that aspect of playing the game wrong. I think his macro strategy was wrong. He did an amazing job of cutting angles. And there were multiple times that I had these like 10-man paladins or 10-man purifiers out, ready to drop down somewhere. And I couldn't get an angle which would felt efficient or useful. I kind of so when I went second, I ended up putting a Calidus on top left and 5 strikes bottom right, where he couldn't get to me, and it meant that I was able to get an early points for primary. I was able to get 8 there, plus the 6 for guarding successfully. So I got 14 points of primary on my turn 2, which was really big in this game. I ended up putting the purifiers in the left-hand corner. Oh, sorry, not left-hand corner. On just kind of at an angle with that left-hand middle objective, so I could shoot into his units. Looters. He overwatched with half the squad, killed 1. I'm like, sweet, that's +1 to hit. They didn't pick up the looters; they only killed like 5. And my theory of the looters is they're -1, and I've got AOC, so they're not that scary. But it's just rate of fire, and they hit on 6s, but it becomes like 5s, rerolling 1s or something. But yeah, just rate of fire, they were able to pick up nearly all the purifiers. They killed all but 2 and Crow. Well, it is what it is. And then that Morkanaut came in, and it charged into the Paladins, which are in the bottom right-hand corner. I'd picked up a couple of killer cans. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is the lottery. But with Armor Contempt, I do have a 3-up. I think he killed 3 with all his attacks. And then I put a little dent in him. And then on my turn 3, I think it was, I was able to pick up the Morkanaut. Whichever one's the fighty one. The problem was he'd claimed the top left-hand objective. Here he made another mistake on his turn 3. I'd fire and faded some interceptors into his deployment zone. And he used the Meganobs and Gaz to go and kill them. And actually, I think he would have been better spent sitting them on the middle objective to try and catch up on primary, because primary was always going to be the issue, and I had bottom of turn. He went for a secret mission, which was always going to be the go across the 3 objectives, but I'd managed to clear out the bottom right, and that was always going to be absolutely fine. And then the game ended with me sending my paladins into the knight in the top left and taking over that objective as well. I was still a bit sweaty and we were really close to time. We kind of were doing the last dice rolls when the time was up. But yeah, I managed to grab the win 72-56. It's an interesting one. I didn't ever feel comfortable and confident. I definitely used up more of the time of him, but he screened so well, cut the angles so well. So he full credit to him. He played well. But again, look, my secondaries, Grey Knight's supposed to be good at secondaries, really poor. So yeah, but the difference in this game was obviously the primary. And yeah, if he'd managed to get his secret mission off, he would have won. So there you go. So I'm now 3-1, and I'm like, right, come on, space points. Let's do this. 4-1. What do I get? I get World Eaters. I've only played World Eaters once before, and I lost. And this time I didn't have Drago to kill Angron. He had 2 Carnivores, a load of 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound, 10 Berserkers with Master of Executions. Now, my initial thoughts are, look at that map. You will see there are now 2 massive L's, which we would call quite lovely staging areas. I deploy in quite a defensive way. He obviously deploys on the line. Aaron was saying all the right things, all the things that make you think, oh, damn, this guy knew what he's doing. So I'm a bit nervous about this. And what proceeds to happen is one of my most fun games of 10th, like just from a tactical perspective. Like I'm always lucky. Most events, I always get at least 1 game, which I just love because it's like a game of chess. And there's so many tactics and everything clicks for me in my head and I feel like I'm playing all right. and this was that game. So I go first, and basically, I draw 2 dud cards, and I CP redraw, and I get containment. So what happens is strikes go up the left-hand side, tag, just touch that objective and contain. A little bit goes roughly down the middle, but completely out of threat range. And then everything else starts shifting down the right-hand side so it can make a play onto his natural expansion objective in the bottom right next turn. He then has a decision to make, and he doesn't know how aggressive to be. Now, I have started running down the right-hand side, the bottom side, because he is loaded everything behind those L's, and he's looking to push onto my natural expansion objective, so I've got still his. Here, I think he makes a mistake. He kind of bottles it. He doesn't rush it. He's worried about my shooting. He's worried about what happens if I bring everything to bear and push through him, which is completely understandable. So he puts 10 jackals out in the middle, screening, and says, well, if you kill me in shooting on the sticky, if you come to me for combat, then you're giving me a unit. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm now going to try and kill you while staying far away. So here's what I do. I move everything down the right-hand side. I'm able to tow a Dread Knight onto that objective. His natural expansion. Bottom right, he's got a Knight sat there at the moment. The Paladins drop down to the bottom right-hand corner where they can shoot into the Knight as well. The Purifiers come to the bottom right-hand corner as well, kind of just above where that 5 inches is. And they can see an 8 bound, which hasn't quite managed to get the other side of that L, the one by the 4-inch symbol. And they're going to try and kill those 3. And then I'm going to know what to do with my second Dread Knight. I end up 3-inch deep striking into his backfield, where that 14 is, so that I can see a load of things. And just be like, you have to come deal with me, mate. So he rapid ingresses his Crew Carnivore up top center so that he can make a run at my Strike Marines. The turn goes reasonably well for me. I pick up the Carnivore very easily, far easier than I thought I would. Purifiers kill 2 of the 8 bound and leave 1 on 1 wound. So the Dread Knight in his backfield is able to kill that one and then kill, I think he picks up 2 8 bound, which are hiding in the middle objective. Some interceptors and strikes pick up 7 of the jackals, I think, in the middle. Don't kill them. Yeah, here's what it is. He's going to get his primary. Oh well. So now he's like, I think I've just got to give you a load of options. And I'm like, yep, this is the turn I was worrying about. So what happens is he sends Angron back to kill my Dread Knight in the back corner. He sends Khan over towards my, and the Berserkers over to kill the Purifiers. He also 6 advances the 6-man Exalted 8 bound. And what that means is I can't miss the Paladin because he's just out of 9. So I missed the Dread Knight, which is on the objective, which gives him a 7-inch charge into the Eversaw. However, the Eversaw is by 5 strikes, so he's going to be able to probably position it so he can get into them as well. Is what it is. And the Crew Carnivore, I can't remember if I said, goes over to my strikes on my home field. So how does this go down? It is very, very mixed. What's the bad news? The bad news is the Carnivore has 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, and I have a 5-up save with those strikes. There's no way those strikes should die. I've screened him out from getting to my objective. So 1 should be alive. It's sticky. I'm fine. Instead, he hits and wounds with 5 of them. I then don't roll any 5-up saves. All of my strikes die. He piles in onto that objective or consolidates onto that objective. I've now lost my sticky. I've lost the points. That Carnivore's there. That's now going to be an issue. The 6 8 bound kill the Eversaw and kill the 5 strikes in the bottom left. I'm like, this isn't ideal. I Armor of Contempt the Purifiers because Berserkers are only AP 1. He precisions out with the Master of Execution. He precisions out Crow, but then he also picks up like 2 or 3 Purifiers, and then the rest kill. I have like, after all said and done, I have like 4, maybe 5 Purifiers left, And then they pick up 7 of the berserkers because they're now +1 to hit, +1 to wounds. They're 2s and 2s, and he's got to make a 6-up save. And then here comes the interesting part. Angron doesn't kill the Dread Knight. Now, last time I played World Eaters, Angron killed 2 Dread Knights in 1 activation. Yeah, I was surprised, but he was left with 5 wounds. I'm now sat looking at my board. I'm like, right, so I've got a tagged Purifier Brick. I've got 10 Paraffin, 10 Paladins who are free to roam. I've got 2 Dread Knights still alive. I've got 2 units of Interceptors. That is it. Oh, and a Calidus. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm playing this mission very much now. Grey Knights can be most dangerous when this happens, right? So Dread Knight drops down, Paladin go over, and we deal with those 6 Exalted 8-bound. So bottom corner of the board, where his natural expansion objective is now mine. I have locked that down in exchange for Carnival having my natural expansion objective. He does have his Invocatus at this point, burning the middle objective. I leave that be, is what it is. The Purifiers fall back. I'm just trying to make him deal with me because he doesn't have shooting. So my Dread Knight falls back, kills a couple of things. And then I don't end up charging his Rhino to punch it. I could have done, but I didn't, because if I had rolled like a low charge, I wouldn't have been able to get out of heroic intervention range of Angron. So there was the thing where I could just go and punch this, but the problem is I need Angron to come over and kill this Dread Knight again and just get stuck in the bottom or the top right hand corner. This turn goes well, and it's over to him again. And we're now starting to run out of stuff, both of us. Angron goes, kills the Dread Knight. Invocatus comes and kills the Calidus, who's deploying homers in his deployment zone for 4. And yeah, the game kind of, it's so close, guys. Like, it's so close. Then his Carnival starts burning his top left-hand objective. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can only burn 1 no man's land objective. No, you can now. You can now burn all across the middle if you want for multiple times, which I didn't realise. Meanwhile, we're playing with a clock, right? And at the end of turn 4, I've got like 6 minutes left on my clock. He's got 38 seconds. Now, I have no interest in clocking him out. I don't play like that. But I'm like, 6 minutes. I don't know how he's going to play. We probably should have clarified that, but I don't know how he's going to play. But I spend 4 minutes of my turn planning it all out, working out where I can go. I've drawn Cleanse and something else which I can score. I end up getting rid of Cleanse and getting something else which I can score. And it's over to him. And he draws Sabotage and Engage. And I quickly do the maths on my phone, and it finishes 78-77 to him. And I'm like, this is so sad. Because he can go and stick, he can just go and sabotage one of the objectives of my deployment zone with his Carnival. So he's been writing his scores down. I'm like, oh no, it's 1 point lost. This is sad, and I felt like I played so well in this game. And then I suddenly realised that I've given him a hold 2 at the end of the game. Now he has burnt the middle objective, and he's burnt his top objective. And the only objective he holds with Angron at the end is his home field. So he's actually only going to get 5. He's not going to get the 10. So in actual fact, the game ends 77-73 to me. He took it really well. Like, Aaron was an absolute gentleman to play, like a real sport. And the difference in this game compared to all the others was that I CP redrew my my ones I couldn't get every turn. And or nearly, yeah, apart from the final turn. Yeah. Because I wasn't spending a CP on a 3-inch deep strike, because funnily enough, I didn't actually want to be 3 inches away from my from the World Eaters. And that was the difference. and I'm glad I did it in that game. So there we are, guys. I managed to get a 4-on-1. I came 17th out of about 200, so pretty good. Scored pretty well over the event. So general debrief. Scoring is so much harder now, so much harder. 2 of the missions you're not getting primary for holding a home field. That's rough. The cards, you saw my scores on my secondaries. They were very rarely did I get in 30s. It's grim. It's grim up there. Especially if the UKTC mission packs are actually killing us now a lot harder because those line of sight blockers in the middle. So yeah, in terms of the list still performs exactly the same as I had imagined. It's still got good killing power to an extent. It gives you a chance in pretty much every matchup. I still really like that list. But I'm about to talk through the individual units. I think I'm going to be trying now to redraw my cards far more aggressively, and just hope, because I think you need to. Which means maybe it's time for Cotes. There's lots of armies out there who give you, who have ways of generating CP. So the games I played, AdMech and Orcs have that ability. So maybe it is time for Cotes just to be trying to get that extra CP. But the general rule seems to be that we're expecting to see lots of combat and MSU. MSU combat seems to be the way at the moment. So whatever you feel you need for MSU combat. I know some people are starting to put Brotherhood champions with 10 strikes in. Fair enough. I don't personally think they've got enough output for that to be warranted. And to lock down objectives on UKTC, generally, you can only get about 8 OC on there. So a 5-man does that just as well as a 10-man. You can't be charged because you're an inch away from them all. So yeah, I'm not sold on that. Maybe it's something that doesn't necessarily work in UKTC, but would work elsewhere. GW and WTC, I don't know. I don't really play those. So yeah, how did I feel the units did? Well, strikes and interceptors still so good. Strikes, got to take at least 1 unit for the sticky. Got to get those battle line in there. Interceptors, they have some games where they don't do a huge amount, but they're there for just being a pain and having options, giving you outlets. I do think at least one of those is great. Paladins and Grandmaster. You know what? Grandmaster, screw you. My Paladins noticeably did not perform as well as they had done this weekend. I don't think it's any... I don't think it's any chance, or it's any coincidence, I should say. That it was because, they just weren't hitting as much. That Grandmaster, that brother captain giving you basically all those extra hits and then rerolls for himself. The ignore modifiers did not come up once. So yeah, I'm on the bro cap train now. Purifiers and Crow. I just have them in my list. I really like them, but is it time to say goodbye? Maybe. I have drawn up a list where I've dropped them for Drago and some Terminators. Maybe it's time. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm going to have an experiment with that. So yeah, I'm not sure whether they fit into the meta. I don't know, guys. I genuinely don't know. Dread Knights were meh, but Dread Knights are always meh. And Assassins are... They're all right. I didn't at all utilize the Vect well. I just use them as action monkeys. I didn't use them well. This was my first time using them, but I think they do a job. And as I said, we need those secondary points, and they do them. And I think if I get better with Vect, I think that'd be pretty helpful. So in terms of an updated matrix, and I've got AdMech. I think that is a win for us. I think Dread Mob is a win for us. Sisters, I think it depends on what you're playing. I think we do have game into them. If you're playing a top Sisters player, probably not. But it's a small loss, but you still score reasonably well. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now with that. That's my beliefs. Let me know if I'm wrong, as always. So my laptop's about to die for battery, so I've whizzed through the last bit. But there you are. Thank you very much for watching, Grey Knight fans. As always, like, comment, subscribe. Let's get that chat going. Our Discord is blooming. Over 400 members now. Lots of chat about Grey Knights as well. So come and join us. I'm filming on Saturday, and on Monday is list analysis time. So for the WTC, all those live lists. I'm going to go through the grey night lists. I'm going to see, so I've already seen a few of them. There are some common trends which I'll be discussing with our team's hat on. And I look forward to deep diving those with you. So as always, thank you very much for joining. See you soon. Bye-bye.